This man here is Peter Finch, and it's a scene from the movie The Network from 1976. And what I'm about to propose is from an iconic line in that movie, probably the most famous line in that movie. Play this line in your head. I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take blank it any... I screwed that one up. I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take it anymore. Is how I remember it. I think it was I'm not going to take it anymore, but the movie, for the most part, says I'm not going to take this anymore. But the thing to definitely emphasize is the fact that when people quote this normally, the impression that I'm under is that they're not quoting, which is later in the scene, he prompts them to go outside and go out the window and start yelling. It's people are quoting him because it's one of those epic speeches. So, well, you'll see.
I want you to get up right now and go to the window. Open it and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell and I'm not going to take this anymore. I want you to get up right now. Get up, go to your windows, open them and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell and I'm not going to take this anymore. But first, get up out of your chairs, open the window, stick your head out and yell and say, I'm as mad as hell and I'm not going to take this anymore. Stick your head out of the window, open it and stick your head out and keep yelling and yell, I'm as mad as hell, I'm not going to take this anymore. Just get up from your chairs right now. Go to the window.
Where are you going? I want to see if anybody's yelling.
Window, open it and stick your head out and yell and keep yelling. I'm mad as hell. I'm not going to take this anymore.
I'm not gonna take it anymore! I'm mad as hell! I'm not gonna take it anymore!
I'm mad as hell. I'm not going to take it anymore.
I'm not gonna take it anymore!
I'm mad as hell.
It's thundering.
Some days I feel more like Peter Finch in Network because I'm as mad as hell and you should be too. This new book that I've written, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to eat it anymore.
I mean, did she name her book wrong? The obvious answer to somebody like me is that no, she didn't, and that this is residue. But obviously this is an open discussion, but you can't even use the argument that, oh, well, she couldn't name it the exact as the line because of copyrights because she already changed it with eat. There's a lot of monologues, too, where, you know, they study the scene, so,
And I'm not going to take it anymore! And I'm not going to take it anymore!
And I'm not gonna take it anymore.
And I'm not going to take it anymore!
And I'm not gonna take it anymore.
And I'm not going to take it anymore.
We're sorry. You have reached a number that has been disconnected or is no longer in service.
when researching stuff to look for residue of a potential Mandela effect, I find it's very beneficial to put stuff in quotes because I guess that it only shows, or is supposed to only show, things that match the exact phrase, because a lot of times I see that it's trying to bring up the new way that something is otherwise. Now let's look at this scene here right before the end. He gets assassinated at the end, and it's very strangely very similar to John F. Kennedy in my opinion, where John F. Kennedy started talking about taking down the deep state.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society, and we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweigh the dangers which are cited to justify it. Even today, there is little value in opposing the threat of a closed society by imitating its arbitrary restrictions. Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. And there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. That I do not intend to permit to the extent that it's in my control. And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy, that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed.
And he gets killed, and there's more to it than that, publicly. But man, this movie's so good. The areas of what we call life that Howard Beale, Peter Finch talks about, different kind of deep state, same intention kind of thing. And what's interesting also is that Peter Finch was the first person to die before receiving the Best Actor of a heart attack. He won Best Actor and wasn't able to receive it. And now this is only going to be relevant, I guess, for the people that believe that it did change like this. But I just consider this being the case for a second, that it was always it. I'm not going to take it anymore. Let's look at this scene here where the entire audience is saying the line.
How do you feel?
So am I implying that I feel as though every person in this audience could have as well been changed from it to this? Well, yeah, I guess I am. And what leads me to this this theory? It's not a conclusion. The only thing I know is I don't know everything about anything. Is that the residue? You know, I wouldn't even. There is some that I think that I can't find residue of. It's very hard, but I just found so much of it with this. But another thing is the fact that I had that moment in my life when I first discovered this it was just a stark red pill. When I discovered that there was 12 people on the moon instead of only the one Apollo 11 mission that was successful, and also Rod Sterling is now Serling, I was hammered. I was like, okay. So it's a little bit easier for me to accept this stuff is changing, but also at the same time, I remain a skeptic in the sense that even myself, which I think of myself as maintaining a discernment of as much objectivity as we can, but I've been played in a sense, whether it's my own mind or otherwise, of thinking very much so for a short amount of time, oh my gosh, this changed, oh my gosh, and I don't actually know if that. And then there's been I've had to just be like, okay, I'm just putting this away because I don't actually think this is true. So I'd have to say that more so, though, I'm starting to see patterns in discerning deception, and it seems like the deception is always the louder voice. But not in the way of, like, when I saw 7-Eleven change after watching it every single day, multiple times, keeping an eye out for the change. I was like, I'm going to catch you. That loud one was a different kind of a feeling than a deceptive loud one. It rang through my whole body. Like I felt it. I think it might be the difference of feeling it versus hearing it, in like my head versus my whole being sort of thing. I don't know. It'd be great to be able to study this stuff with the new technology that we have, which apparently only like 10 years ago has now allowed us to realize that brain damage is not irreversible like we've thought all the way up until 10 years ago, but it is reversible based off of brain imagery technology. But back to my point about this, some people could, and rightly so, is a good question to ask, say, well, it's probably the fact that most people just misquoted this for so long. But I just have to say, what about the lady with the book? You think she didn't do the research, or these people that are doing monologues? It just doesn't seem like that's the case for me, because, and also even in the movie, it's almost like they left, whatever it was that did this, left the it's in there just so that people could have it when the people were out screaming out the window too. Oh, that's what they were referencing. Well, Howard Beale never said it. It's almost like it was left in there as just another opportunity for somebody to explain this away. Because another pattern that I've seen with these Mandela effects is that every single one of them, well, for the most part, is easily mix-upable. The nature of them is they all have the same style of potentially being something that is easy to mix up. And that's why my observations have increased so much, to make sure that I'm being articulately mindful and noticing things like more narrowly, like trying to pinpoint my focus rather than just, broadly, because I won't be able to determine if stuff has changed without making sure that I knew it before, rather than just relatively. I try to starkly know about something. It reminds me of that line from the movie The Patriot, and the father tells the son, aim small, miss small. And as far as these monologues go as being valuable, in my opinion, residue, why would only 5 years ago people who have to know the words perfectly of a monologue, when you learn a monologue as an actor, I've shot some for friends of their video audition reels, and there's and I've read lines with them. There's some, there really isn't as much improv, at least in my experience, especially with an iconic one like this. And while it is possible that it's just been a large confabulation collectively for over, the course since the movies come out, the way that it's being promoted in this side of it, meaning it's being promoted as this and not it, when I type in, it's like it's intentionally trying to correct it. And in my opinion, that's like the Matrix kind of pushing back to autocorrect. And it's in the same exact vein as these mainstream entities, as little as they talk about this effect, when they do, it's very much, oh, nothing to see here. If you believe in logic, then you don't have to worry about this. Well, I'm going to end with this. Logic can only bring you so far, because we're limited beings, and we only have 5 senses, and we cannot know everything about anything. And that's when I think the heart comes in to sort of... It's like I almost feel like a prerequisite to seeing this is a sense of humility. It's funny that's the same word as humiliation, because it's the opposite. It's like you realize that humiliation is a grand illusion. Yet just like the other tactics of the quote-unquote Matrix pushing back, or however you want to call it, the patrolling of this Mandela effect, they try to use it as a weapon or a tool of their narrative fulfillment. And I think it's just funny. It just makes me laugh. And it's just great that there is these patterns to be able to use to help with the discernment. And not to be too sappy, but I'm grateful for anybody listening to this, and I want to just throw in my mind here as one of the many that are keeping on about this, because it's pretty significant, I think, and I don't think it's random. And based off of the amount of patrolling I'm seeing by said Matrix, I think that there could be a hidden thing here. I don't really know yet, and I think that's a good thing to admit, but I'm just naturally making patterns because I've got a lot of music that all have changed, and I'm really excited to bring it out. So, all right, peace to everybody.